Alrighty. Hey. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 7th Design Review Board meeting. First up is roll call.
Good evening, board members. Board member Rosner,
Here.
board member Odorcio, board member Chong.
Here.
We have one excused and one absent.
All right, thank you. We now move to oral communications from anybody in the public that wishes to address the Design Review Board for any items that are not on this evening's agenda. If you could, you'll have 3 minutes. Please come forward. We'll also go to our Zoom call to see if there's anybody that wishes to speak. If you could, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen if you wish to address the DRB for any items not on this evening's agenda. Give me a second.
I don't see any raised hand in the Zoom.
All right, thank you. Now we go to staff briefing.
So I just wanted to remind the board members and anyone else who's listening that we will be bringing back the objective design standards at the next meeting for a discussion and some direction. So we can bring that forward to the Planning Commission and then to City Council as we're moving through the housing element process. So that's what I think is really coming up for us right now. And I'm hoping everybody will be here to participate.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda this evening is the minutes from the August 10th and August 17th Design Review Board meetings. Let's do them one by one, starting with any comments or corrections on the August 10th Design Review Board meeting minutes. None, seeing none. I don't have any either. So a motion.
Motion to accept.
So a motion to approve the August 10th Design Review Board meeting minutes. Do we have a second? Second. And all those in favor? Aye. Aye. And opposed? None. So with that, we'll go to the minutes from the August 17th Design Review Board meeting. Any comments on those? No. And a motion?
Motion to approve the August
17th. Yep. Design Review Board meeting.
Minutes.
All right, minutes. And all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? None. And with that, we adopt the minutes for the August 17th Design Review Board meeting also. Moving on to our public hearings. We have two public hearings this evening. The first is 118 Howard Drive. This is a application that was a continue from the August 3rd Design Review Board meeting. If we our format for this evening, as it always is the applicant will have 20 minutes, up to 20 minutes to present, at which point we might have some questions. We'll also open it up to the public to give them an opportunity to come up if there's any comments. We ask the public to keep it to 3 minutes each. And then we also have an opportunity for the applicant to come back up and address any of the concerns that were raised by the public. With that, if you're ready, we can get started.
Thank you. Hello, members of the board. My name is Phoebe Holscher. I'm the architect for Todd and Lindsay Rosoff. Thanks for showing up tonight, guys. I know you spend a lot of time doing your job here and it's very appreciated. So we are back in front of you with quite a few changes that I'm excited to review with you.
Can you move the mic just a little
bit
closer?
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. How's that? Ooh, okay. Okay. All right. So before I go into the changes, I want to just point out and just recap the design parameters since we're at a new design review meeting, which is that the addition to the home counts as new construction due to the level of demolition. The existing house is 2,347 square feet. We propose to add 923 for a total of 3,270 square feet, where 3,280 is allowed. The DRB last time unanimously supported granting all three variances, which included the front yard setback variance for the covered porch to project 6 feet into the front yard setback, the side yard setback for a new gable roof for an existing nonconformity of 9'8". That wall didn't change. We just put a new roof on it. And a lot coverage variance for almost 19% coverage where 15% is allowed. Uh-oh.
Down is forward. Just push the down.
Down
Is
is
it on?
forward.
Let's make sure it's on.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I'll just go quickly through this since I know we looked at this before. But the shading and the graph can show you that there are many discrepancies in the sizes of the RO2. Our subject lot is 12,801 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is the minimum lot. It's 36% smaller than the minimum. Most properties of this size are zoned R1, which you can see in the green. Lot coverage and setback variances for these substandard lots are common, as you can see by all the red. All neighboring properties have lot coverage variances and side yard setbacks, and only 3 do not have a front yard setback. So again, we looked at that before, but I thought that might be helpful to have it up again. Okay, site plan. Again, lots of restrictions on the lot, large setbacks on a relatively small site. The shape of the front property line is a curve, which makes it, oh, sorry, hold on. That's sensitive. And the drainage easement, which is an additional restriction in green on the right, which is not even parallel, just adding to the challenges. The floor plans, again, we didn't change the floor plans because what we heard in our discussion last time was more about massing and verticality. So the floor plan is the same, and I'm just refreshing your memory here. The green is the new square footage up at the front portion of the property. That is the upstairs primary bedroom located above the kitchen and dining, pulled back for a small deck and over the covered porch. Okay, so now we start to look at the changes made. So we lowered the ridges, almost all ridges, about 2 feet. And this shows a cut through the site, showing the lowered section over the garage mass. We'll have more of that later. I just want to cover a few things first. So one of the one of the inspirations here for the Rossoffs was this idea of the modern farmhouse. So I thought I would add some pictures to show the pitches of the roof. We kept the pitch of most of the roofs at 8 and 12 because we were able to lower the spaces significantly by reducing the plate height on the upstairs. The 8 and 12, so the farmhouse vernacular is typically a minimum of around 9 and 12 up to 14 and 12, as you guys can see with these roofs. And I threw in that authentic picture of the farmhouse here with the happy looking family, down below. There's the real deal. And so we want to honor that. We want to honor that roof slope. We think it's a very elegant roof slope, and we don't want to lower the pitch. It's already 8 and 12, which is a little bit lower than everything you're seeing. And to lower it more, it's going to start looking more like a 2-story ranch house and less like a farmhouse. So we felt that was really important. And we were very happy and pleased that we could attain the reduction in mass through lowering the plate heights instead. Now, let me see here. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure that I am not missing anything that I wanted to say. Okay, I'm good. All right, so here is the main slide we're going to be looking at. And again, we heard decrease in massing and verticality. And so how we responded to that is quite significant in how far we are from the maximum, because what we heard before is that we were quite close to the maximum height. And so we were able to lower the roofs over the primary bedroom and bath and closet a good 2 feet. Those spaces are now about 5 feet under the maximum allowable height. That's over 16% less than the maximum, which is significant. The roof over the garage, we had to lower that pitch to 7 and 12 because it's an existing plate height of 8 feet We can't change that. It's existing. We're working around the existing house. And the only way to lower that and respond to the comments on all these front-facing two-story volumes was to lower that pitch. So we did lower that pitch, and because it's such a wide space, it was a significant drop. We were also able to change from scissor truss to stick frame, which allowed us to get that 2-foot drop. So let's see. So the upper area where the primary bedroom is, again, that is it's a gable roof. And so I want to point out, because there was a lot of discussion last time about how close we were to the maximum height. And, you know, these are gable roofs. So the highest peak now is over 5 feet. It's 5'1". And I apologize for not having a single dimension instead of 2, but it's 5'1" below the maximum height. And that's the highest point. And it drops off at a slope of 8 and 12. So this is really, really down from that. And I just want to kind of emphasize that. So there are other ways that we also reduced the sense of mass and verticality. And so now I'll go through that. One is we raised the level of the covered porch. Before, we had the stairs go up to the front door at the very end. So the porch was dropped and the columns were tall. And so we raised that porch level so that the columns shortened and the net is a reduced height there. That is only 9'6" now at the fascia of where the columns are. We also introduced horizontal siding to kind of de-verticalize it, if that could be a word right now. We added horizontal siding at the pitch of the gable over the garage, as well as our little portico entry, volume. And we feel that, again, just helps break up the vertical elements. We did choose to hold on to our ceiling height in the great room and the dining room and living room. And the reason why is because ceiling height standards have increased over the years, thankfully, frankly. And 8 foot and lower, it doesn't make sense. We would have considered that if we couldn't lower the space another way, but we could. And so that is important to be able to have that sense of volume for today's spaces. Cost of construction is very expensive. And we have the opportunity to create some elegant volume inside without creating a nuisance for neighbors, or view blockage, or anything else. So the other thing I just want to point out with this slide, which we'll see a little bit more in the renderings, is the broken up massive that we think is attractive and playful. We have the primary bedroom is pushed back between the volumes of the closet and the bathroom. The porch has a covered, it's a covered porch creating shade and shadow. We have a playful little entry piece creating an entry portico for the front door. The garage mass volume is pushed back. There's a lot of movement in this house. When I drove around the neighborhood looking at houses, both for color, which I'll get to in a minute, and massing, I saw a lot of boxy homes, frankly, and this is not one of them. This has a lot of movement, and I think it's very appropriate. I think the massing is appropriate, and I think it will be an elegant and appropriate home. So on that note, I will go to the next slide. This shows, again, just the 2 side elevations. Over the lower right is, again, that significant drop for the primary bathroom. And over here is over the garage. That's the back elevation. And again, that I think, I can't see it without my glasses, but that's, I think, over 6. Well, I can't see it with my glasses. It's too far away. But I think that's over, it's like 6 to 8 feet. It's significantly below the maximum height. Okay, so then I'm moving on to color now. So after the commentary, I drove around the neighborhood and we looked at the hill near my home and we drove all around the Rosofts neighborhood. And now when I come in on Tiburon Boulevard, you know, I'm seeing how many white houses, in fact, there are. They are, so the upper photograph shows you, and again, the kind of palette, and it doesn't even capture all of them, but we just wanted to kind of point out that this is not a new concept. It's not unprecedented. There are very old historic homes that are white. There are brand new homes. There are traditional, there's modern. I personally find it a beautiful kind of a beautiful way to treat a house in a neighborhood. All the photographs down at the bottom half of the slide are in the immediate vicinity of the Rosofts, and that is a fraction of the photographs I took, and there are 9 right there. To me and to us, you know, the white house is classic, it's fresh, and it's elegant. And again, to, you know, emphasize our point that the palette for the Rosofts is appropriate and it is in keeping with the neighborhood. And we will hear more from Todd about this after I'm finished. Okay. Material board. So we did not change the color, and it is the cloud cover. It's not bright white, it's an off-white. But what we did do is we added numerous elements to add some warmth and natural materials into the palette. Some of these we did before, some of them are new, so I'm going to just go through the list. We added a stained natural wood at the ceiling of the porch and the deck. We added a stained wood railing cap at all the railings above the, you know, at the primary bedroom as well as off the upper story above the garage. We changed, we added a vent window to the upper portion of the gable, which just kind of helps break up that white surface of the gable. We added naturally graying wood to the floor of the entry steps as well as the patio. We made the front landscape walls stone, a natural earth stone that again adds that kind of materiality and that density. And then we did a lot of work on the landscape, which I will go over in the last landscape slide. So I'm going to wait on that. And again here, so what these are, you guys, is that on the left is their inspiration photo for what they wanted to see, the palette they wanted to see. As you can see, our model on the right is very similar. We really took this literally and created a palette that the Rosofts have been showing us from the very beginning. Now to finish up with landscape. So again, I'll just touch on this and then show some renderings. So to reiterate, we are removing the redwood per the request of the immediate next door neighbor. The maples need to be removed because they are where the entry is and the covered porch. But what we are replacing them with is hedging along the side, the podocarpus. We're going to add one up above and a couple down where the redwood tree is removed to maintain privacy between those properties. We have lots of new plantings in the front. We have more hydrangea and lavender and grasses, which you'll see in a minute. We have the natural stone walls, which we just talked about, which are earth tones. And we added a Japanese maple down at the street, which is something that we talked about at the meeting. So here is the rendering showing the Japanese maple and all those trees. This is taken from a photograph. So those are existing trees. And then there's some podocarpus kind of pasted in there as well as that maple at the front. And again, to end with this, you can see in the, and I don't know how to use, there we go. Okay, here we've got a lot of hydrangea. Let's see here. and plantings here to really make this feel like a cozy, welcoming home. This down here is an interesting shot. This is what it's going to look like from the neighbors. So clearly some good screening, and plenty of privacy maintained. And again, lavender and hydrangea and grasses throughout. Here's our new tree, our Japanese maple in the foreground, and the existing maple back there. And let's see, I think that's it. Just to recap, I feel like we did a significant reduction in height, bringing it down 2 feet for 5 feet at the highest point below the maximum. We added material richness, we added foliage for contrast and softening. And we hope you agree with us that we believe this is going to be an elegant and appropriate addition to the neighborhood. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. With that, we will open it up to the public for anybody that wishes to speak about 118 Howard Drive. Is there anybody? You'll have 5 minutes after. Yeah. So we'll just open up the public real quick and then you'll have 5 minutes after if there's nobody. So if there's anybody if we could go to the Zoom call, if there's anybody on the Zoom call that wishes to speak on this application, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom.
I do not see any raised hand.
All right, with that, we'll give the applicant an opportunity, 5 minutes to come up and share anything they'd like to close with.
That's great. Hi, everyone. I'm Todd Rosoff. My wife, Lindsay, and I are the owners of 118 Howard. It's good to see you guys again. I'm hoping maybe the next time in a different forum than this. Look, I maybe just to open, like, really appreciate your time and consideration, especially, the support that was previously communicated for the variances that we were requesting. I hope you took from Phoebe's presentation. We spent a tremendous amount of time on this and really trying to hear and incorporate the feedback from the board around less verticality and massing and also landscaping and stone and so forth. So I think we leaned on Phoebe and David really hard on that. There are local architects that are much more knowledgeable than we are, and I think they really did a wonderful job on the design. I know color was a point of direct feedback. As Phoebe said, we did the core color of the home remains the same, but I think we did a lot to really try and soften it and incorporate kind of the landscaping that addresses it. But the backstory a little bit aside from the design also is what we've really tried to do is make the scheme reflective of our personal histories. Lindsay grew up in a home that looked very much like this, a beautiful kind of white home. So it strikes a chord for her. It's also reflective of where I grew up in the East Coast. We're trying to bring all of that together and come up with really kind of a coastal farmhouse interpretation that I think is very appropriate for this surrounding. So that's a little bit more of kind of the texture behind the choices here around it. It strikes a very kind of personal note for us. And I think the other point I'd make is I think I did comment on the first meeting. We spent a tremendous amount of time also with the neighbors. So they submitted support letters. We kind of walked through all the designs at each step and got I think a very resounding, this is great. So feel good about what we put forward. Our home, I think, is you all have maybe walked around it. I'm not sure if you've seen the revised story polls, but it's pretty pronounced, the changes. And I think what's unique about kind of the location of the home is it sits in this kind of natural, bottom of a bowl, kind of enclave, and the landscaping and everything around it, I think, envelops the home in a really nice and subtle way. So it's really not that kind of home atop a hill kind of standing out as it relates to the color concern as well. So that was it. Again, really appreciate the time and consideration.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we'll close the public portion of the hearing and bring it back to the board. Would anybody like to lead us off?
Sure. I had Phoebe, could I ask you on this slide concerning the height of these roofs, would you go back to the side elevation? Could you show
This
me that
elevation?
again? I just wanted to make sure I understood exactly the reduction of those two slides
Sure.
back to back. I couldn't read the numbers. I think I heard you interpret that it was about 2 feet, but could you just tell me exactly what those are again?
Yes, I sure can. Let's go back. There. Here.
Yes, that one, and I believe it was maybe the one right before that.
This one. There we go.
Yeah, so it is according to your drawing, it is the top of the red line. Now it's the bottom of the red line. Is that
Yes,
correct? Yes.
yes,
Okay. And that exact change is how much?
So I believe on the right roof, I think it says 2 feet, but I think it's actually 2'2". And on the left side, I believe that's 1 foot 8.5. Down on over the garage.
Okay. And those are the same numbers that are reflected on your two-side view? On the next
Yes,
slide? Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
okay. One other question I had for you, unless you wanted to.
No, my apologies. I should have opened it up for you to ask questions. So go ahead and ask them.
When you use the term natural earth stone, I didn't understand, is that stone or is it still the,
No, it's stone.
okay,
I mean, it was stone before, but it was just thinner veneer with a shaved back to make it easier to mount, but we're just gonna do a real stone wall.
no stone,
Yeah,
and-
like full nominal.
right? And no color change whatsoever on the white. It was the same white we saw before.
No,
Okay,
same one.
thank you.
Sure.
Any questions for me? All right, good. All right, with that, thank you.
Okay.
We'll close it. A little rusty. We usually ask opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. All right, so with those questions, lead us off.
Actually, I think I'm satisfied with my answers at this time. This, question about the height of it, the mass of it, I appreciate some of the things that were done. I still struggle with the brightness of a White House, but I understand what you're discussing with the surrounding neighbors. I think it does make a difference when it is flat on the end of the cul-de-sac, or as it seems to be a presenting house, but I think I understand your wanting to hold on to it. So I don't know if that's a deal breaker for me, but something I'm still thinking about for a moment. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll say I think I was probably maybe the most critical of the three of us on the original go ahead, just on some of the kind of collective things aesthetically, and I'll just say I'm very happy with the changes. I think there were a lot of, I'm sure, would appear to be a collection of smaller changes. I think there are some bigger than not, but the collection of changes I think does for me make a big difference. I think the natural elements added breaks up that monotone white, which was the original design. I did not have a problem with white. It was more of just the monotone. So I really like the new railing, the new fence, just to add those elements of natural color to break up that white. I think I really like the shed dormer and the top windows. I think again make it a little more horizontal than the original design. I think the raised patio just does something that again shortens it, and it was a little odd just from the renderings before, and I think that just adds yet another thing. So it's where I was originally. There's a combination of little things that just made it aesthetically just off for me. I think we've gone the opposite way, is the combination of these changes I think have made it a really nice design. So I'm certainly in favor of this design and what I see right here as a being brought back.
Yeah, so I think I was the most supportive and was actually okay with the original design. And since the last time we heard the application, I was up in Plumas County, and that you go through some of like Sierraville and some of the smaller towns that have a lot of the farmhouse style. And I just was paying a lot of attention to the pitches, and I actually thought it was application and was hoping that they weren't going to kind of ruin what they were trying to do originally. And I think it's it's come back and still has the look that they wanted to go with. I really dislike how elevations don't show how much in and out there is to the front of the house. So I'm glad also that the 3D versions were included, because I think it really does show that there is a lot of motion in the front of the home. So with that, it sounds like and I've been supportive of the color, and a number of the White Houses that have been coming through, and especially the back of a cul-de-sac that doesn't necessarily show on a hill like the other ones. There's no concern there for me. So since there doesn't seem like there was a fundamental change to the floor plan, I assume everybody's still okay with it. Last time we discussed the variances in quite a bit of detail, but the excessive lot coverage, reduced front and left setbacks, everybody's still in the same place on variances. All right, so with that, it sounds like maybe we'd be looking for a motion to adopt the resolution.
Remember the language.
All right, so yeah, so we'd be looking for a motion to adopt the resolution prepared for 118 Howard Drive, and that the project is category exempt from CEQA.
Yeah, motion to adopt the resolution for 118 Howard Drive, and the project is exempt from CEQA.
Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. And with that, we adopt the resolution. All right. There you go. Thank you. Moving along to the second public hearing on this evening's agenda is 34 Nache Vista Lane. If the applicant could come forward. And again, you have up to 20 minutes to present.
Good evening, members of the DRB. My name is Michael Heckman. I'm the architect working with the owner, John Ferguson. He's here to ensure that this turns out the way he wants. So we hope for your support tonight. We did not render all of our elevations or create any color studies because we're matching what's existing. We've got an upper story that's all shingle, but most of what we wanted to do to improve the house was at the middle and lower level. So those will be stucco and match the finishes of the house itself as they are existing. So I think the geometry is kind of straightforward. The main objective was to improve the middle level of the house. That's the primary bedroom. And as an aside, we thought we had an opportunity to assist in the cramped space at the lowest level, which is a guest bedroom. But to improve the primary bedroom, we wanted to open it up to the adjacent space, which is now outdoors, of course, but to close that in for a generous dressing area, add a bathroom and a closet. And then the bathroom also has vaulted ceilings, has a kind of a unique window to the view, the big round window, which speaks of a little bit of the nautical condition of our neighbors in our town. And beyond that, I could just show you briefly in the plan what I was just going to go to. Oh, here we go. I'm going to go to the site plan. So you can see all the work that we're accomplishing is really in this one quadrant here, which is the east side of the building. And that's the point where we do want a small setback variance. Most of what you see from ground level or the entry level is basically a slightly larger deck space. Once you go to the the lowest level of the house is where we add a small alcove to this bedroom, which was very cramped. With a normal sized bed in there, it was very difficult to get around. And we were doing this work adjacent to it. And so it seemed like an opportunity to expand that space somewhat and have it offset from the other elements of the house. So it was articulated enough to be interesting. At the next level, which is, as I mentioned, was where we wanted to accomplish the most, there was the existing bedroom right here, the primary bedroom. And this was an offset door, wall angle to an outdoor deck. So now we wanted to close the outdoor deck, and that's the new dressing area. We have a sizable closet to the back. And then in this area is the bathroom, the shower, which is the round window open to the view, and then an outside deck, which is on the south side of the house. And then lastly, this is the upper level view, which for all practical purposes is also a roof plan, because all that you see at this level is the elastomeric coating of the deck space. And then there are these two elements, the sloped metal roof, which matches other metal roofs on the project. And then the deck, which is down below at the middle level. These are the elevations. I apologize for the rendering of the stucco. It turned out kind of muddy here, but this is the downslope elevation. And then you can also see on the side elevation facing to the east that we have, here, let's go back to that one. There are no windows facing that neighbor, which would be the closest neighbor. And probably the only one that might be aware that there's any addition being created. We have another neighbor that's actually up a full story toward the back of the property. And so Mr. Ferguson has actually had a conversation with both of those neighbors. And I can sort of paraphrase what they discussed via email. On the east side, which is well, I'll go back to the site plan. There we go. So the neighbor on the east side, Jeff Factor, Mr. Ferguson and he exchanged emails. It was really John just alerting him to the fact that this was something he wanted to accomplish and that there was going to be a meeting. And they exchanged descriptions of what was going to be accomplished. And he had no objections to what was being planned. This neighbor and John have actually coordinated various improvements along the property line from time to time. But there's very dense growth between these two buildings. And in touring the neighborhood recently, I was able to get up above the garage of the neighbor, tried to look down and see if the addition was even visible. And all I could see was the upper roof of the existing house. I couldn't see the story poles because of the dense vegetation. There are very tall trees in there, and we're going to preserve whatever vegetation there is between the two buildings. Then this is the neighbor way uphill, which is a full story above even the upper level of the Ferguson house. And they actually look over the main house already. So they will see nothing, which is being constructed at the middle level of the house. Let's see, lastly, on the front of neighborhood communication, there was a conversation John had with, I don't know the last name. I believe it's Kevin, number 17. So the uphill house here is number 19. Number 17 is the next lot going up Noche Vista Lane. And he wanted to be sure that there would be restrictions on any construction traffic on Noche Vista Lane. If any of you went to the site, you could see that the lane is very narrow. And so access is very critical for not just neighbors, but for emergency vehicles. So there will be no parking once you get past the entrance to this easement up on the lane, which goes up toward Hacienda. All the parking for construction will be in the area on the property, or contractors will, have cars that they'll join and carpool in. And Mr. Ferguson is actually going to use the same contractor that he remodeled this house quite a few years ago. And he was very good and had very good neighbor relations. So I think the neighbors are going to be satisfied with what he does and how he works his construction site. And John's always been a good communicator with his neighbors. So I think we have great neighbor support. And we'd be pleased if we could move ahead with the project. We didn't want it to be too ambitious, but it does tune up a couple of parts of the house that Mr. Ferguson felt were important. We still have just a 3-bedroom house, basically. We're not impacting any more of the neighborhood with incorporating another bedroom, needing more parking and things of that nature. So I think it's just an upgrade to a 3-bedroom house to meet Mr. Ferguson's needs. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
I have one question. I just have a question about tree removal and any in between the applicant's property and the east
Right in
property.
here. Yeah.
Because in that setback, because there's a few trees. I think the staff report said 2 were going to be removed. Can you just give us an idea of what after construction, what the screening will look like?
Well, there's a huge, I think it's a cypress tree here. And we're not going to remove that tree, of course. There's another sizable tree in this area. I don't know the species, to be perfectly honest. It might show up in one of the photos, which is on the first page. Yeah, you can see the leafy part of a tree here, just to the east of the addition. This small shrub here, which I'm not sure of the type of shrub, but it does need to be removed in order to allow us to build what we will. But we do intend to keep whatever vegetation is able to be preserved and allow the addition to be built. There is some pruning needed on a couple of the trees, which are very much into the footprint of the new work, but it'll be pruned, with some kind of respect for what the tree shape should be. And I think the neighbor is actually satisfied with all the vegetation that's in place. We are going to preserve that. And actually, I think the neighbors very rarely in Tiburon, from what I hear from John. When they communicate, he's usually gone for some reason. So I think he has another house somewhere. But that's sort of an aside. We are going to preserve all the trees and vegetation, because actually we had at one point access coming off the deck and going down around that part of the property, but that's not really critical to John's needs. We eliminated that. So we don't have to have generous paths or terraces or anything that would run along that east side of the house. It's just going to be a simple, narrow, probably railroad type path to allow access for maintenance. So the rest of it would be green and dense. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I did, could you, I just want to make sure I understood that again, the roof line's not changing at all, even from I was looking at this, page A07, where you look at the east elevation from the side view, nothing changes of the roof height or line?
Well, not of the original house.
Right.
But, the east side is here.
I said, yeah,
Right
it's
in
a,
here.
well,
So
well,
this is
correct.
The
that-
original house.
Right, and none of that changes.
No, not at all.
Okay,
This becomes a roof deck. This is the top of the bathroom and closet and dressing room area. And then we created another sort of a reverse angle to the house on the roof. And it's finished in the same standing seam metal as the rest of the house is. And that's the lower deck for the middle level too. So I think the profile is interesting, but it's not imposing. It's just a single story basically with a little half story visible down here to the left. So I felt like it was complementary to the existing house, but not trying to make too much of itself. Yeah.
yeah, no, I really wanted to make sure I understood looking at it from the east side, which is, I believe, that view there.
Yeah, that's what the neighbor would see if he could see through the vegetation.
And one other, there were no neighbor concerns or letters provided, is that correct? No complaints of,
Well, the staff
We'll just ask the
would
staff-
know
ask
about
the
that,
staff.
but no, I don't think there are any.
There's no label provided for this for this project.
yeah, I didn't see any concerns, and I just want to make sure I didn't miss something.
Oh, no, not at all. John talked to the neighbor on the east side, this side,
Mhm.
the neighbor just above him, behind him, and then the next neighbor around the corner who really just cared about the traffic. So there is one neighbor to the west, I guess it is. But they are so high and they're oriented more to Sausalito and the Golden Gate Bridge. And this is going to be completely hidden behind the main part of the existing house, as you can see. It's all below and completely out of sight of the neighbor that's on the west side. So the neighbors are all satisfied with what we're proposing here. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, with that, we'll open it up to the public to see if anybody from the public wishes to comment on this project. Doesn't look like there's anybody here, so we'll go to the Zoom call. Just make sure there's nobody on Zoom. If you could use the raise hand feature if you'd like to comment on 34 Nache Vista Lane.
I see no raised hand.
All right, with that, you do have 5 more minutes, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to.
I don't want to use it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. In that case, we will close it to the public portion of the hearing and bring it back to the board.
I'm happy to start.
Yeah.
I visited this site today. Thank you, Mr. Ferguson, for your instructions on how to get in. I don't have any, I guess I'll first say it. I could find the findings for the variance in the setback. I think the plot alone in the existing house and the narrowness of where you could build an addition, it seems like it's pretty appropriate for that reduced setback, along with the FAR exception. I think all the houses are, as stated in the staff report, pretty varying sizes, and I think it would be appropriate. My only one comment was around the vegetation, and I was walking around in between the two properties, figuring out which trees were going to be removed, and there is a lot of dense vegetation, but it just seems like the applicant and the neighbors are on kind of the same page, making sure things need to be pruned and be pruning, and I don't really have a concern with any gaps in screening given the development. So I'm pretty much in favor of the project.
Yeah, I think I am as well. I actually had one other, can I bring up one other question I forgot? to ask, or-
We'd have to technically
Okay.
open up the public hearing.
That's fine, then I'll reserve my question, but I'm fine with the variances, and I appreciate what you did to work with the space that basically was already there. I think that was going to work well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I went out to the project today and, it's definitely what we've been presented here is very much the logical way of, doing an addition to the home, which kind of lends itself to the variance request, as opposed to having to build downhill or something like that. So very much supportive of the variance, also supportive of able to make the findings for the floor area exception. All in all, I think it's a pretty easy one compared to what we sometimes see. So full support of the project also. So it sounds like we're all in the same place and we'll be looking for a motion to, I believe I saw a resolution to approve the resolution as drafted by staff and the project's category is in from CEQA. Anybody?
Motion to approve the resolution for 34 Noche Vista Lane, with variances and FAR exception, and the project is exempt from CEQA.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? All right. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. With that, I'll make sure that they didn't sneak anything to the bottom of the agenda. Nope. And with that, we adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, no.